The time is 6:39. Present in the room is our cameraman Josh Morelli, Mark Bills, road supervisor Stan Noga, and Bruce Mello, and myself, Dorothy Maggio, select board members. And Peter Barris on our recording clerk is online. All right, review any changes to the agenda. Mr. Noga?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could either in my section or someplace else that's appropriate, maybe under old business, I don't know, mention the health officer, the deputy health officer scenario and the status of that. I just need to ask the question to double check. And then next would be Peter Meyer. I did speak with him, if you want to add that to my section or someplace else under old business. And then the security camera status, I don't see that in here someplace, it might be. So just add those three quick things.
The health, okay, we can add under select board chair report, health department concerns.
Okay,
We'll talk about that, deputy. The security cameras, I did not purchase, I was still looking at things. And what was the other?
Peter Meyer,
And
regarding I brought up issue mowing and so.
all right, so
Recording in progress.
Under F, any other reports or discussions would be Stan.
Under which number?
7F.
7F, okay.
Mark, could I ask a favor of you? Would you get the mail from the select board mailbox?
Sure.
I think there's something in there from the listers that we might have to look at later. All right, so we'll, I'd also like to add a brief discussion under 7F, a mention about renting of the Brookline meeting house. Just touch base on that discussion. Okay. All right, right now we'll review the minutes from the July 20th, 2022 regular meeting. There are 6 pages. We will start on page 1. I will ask Peter, under the members of the public, you can remove Julia Duke from that list because she was the meeting before. Any other changes to page 1? Any changes to page 2? Any changes to page 3? Any changes to page 4? Any changes to page 5? Any changes to page 6? I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 20th, 2022 meeting as amended. May I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Noga. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the amended minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Good job, Peter.
All right, members of the public. We don't have any scheduled or unscheduled members of the public at this time. Next item, new business. It's the RFP discussion for the electrical needs for the heat pump installation. It would be considered under the regular purchase policy classification since it would not cost more than $7,500. At the last meeting, we discussed the fact that we really don't have to put it out to bid, but we would need to have 2 or 3 bids come in, unsolicited, non-advertised bids come in, or we could put it in the newspaper, and even if we got 1 bid, we would either accept it or reject it. So I printed out for you all a sample request for proposal using the information from the accepted bid from Tim Hart, the heat pump process, where it says here, the town of Brookline is accepting accurate bids for electrical work which needs to be done before 24,000 BTU Dakin air-to-air cold climate heat pumps are installed at 624 Grassy Brook Road. Now, I put this next line in because I saw that was not, it was indicated that Tim's prices includes everything except the 2-pole 20-amp circuits. So I put 2-pole 20-amp circuits to each of the 6 outdoor units will be needed.
Yeah, that's more, that's good.
Okay.
I think.
Contact Bruce Mello, building commissioner, to schedule an on-site visit or for more information. Yes.
Sweet my phone number. We don't have to do this other voicemail stuff. I just assume have everybody come to my house. If they're gonna contact me directly, or they can, you have it down here, you can do it post office too.
All right, so that's what I wanted to know. So leave the home phone number.
So, yep. And just forget the other stuff, the extension and all that.
Project completion date should be,
Now I had an inject.
yes, I have a blank there.
Okay, Tim Hart called me today. We had a nice one. Told me a
I
bunch of
guess speak
things.
up because it's the chemistry.
Can you hear me now, Peter? All right, good. Tim Hart called me today. We had a nice conversation. The guy that's doing the heat pumps. And I thanked and acknowledged the receipt of the check last week. And he immediately ordered the heat pumps. He said they should be here in 4 weeks. So that being said, 4 weeks from last week is the end of the month. So I'm thinking that we should have project completion date be by September 9th. And the reason for that is obvious because they're gonna be in. We get the electrical hooked up and he'll be ready to go after that. Plus, I'd like to have it all in. I'm gonna go away, be going away from the 23rd to the 25th. So that gives a little bit of window of breathing room.
All right, so I could put project completion date should be September 9th, 2022. Vendors will need to have current liability insurance and comply with the town's request for completed paperwork if awarded the bid. Sealed bids need to be received at the Brookline Town Office no later than 6 p.m. on August, what?
17th.
You wanted to have it by the beginning?
17th.
August 17th.
It'll be-
2022, they will be opened at a regular select board meeting on August 17th at 6:45 p.m. If someone wishes to send a electronic bid, or email the bid rather than, because we do have that added into our policy, you'll have to deal with that.
But, I mean, it's not my problem. I mean, if it comes through.
If they want to email, call me up and we'll set something up at that time.
Oh, if they want to email me, they can directly
Instead
ask
of-
me there.
Instead of sending a
You
sealed
don't want
bid.
you don't want the email to me though.
Correct, right.
It has to be emailed to the town.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be something you could talk to the vendor about if they chose to email.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they would mail it to us or hand deliver it.
right, okay.
Okay?
Okay, I'll work that.
Okay. Mail to Brookline Town Office, PO 403, Brookline, Vermont, 05345, attention electrical project. The town of Brookline retains the right to reject any bids or RFP if doing so is deemed by the legislative body to be in the best interest of the town. All right, any other comments, Mr. Yocum, what do you think?
There is a way of shortening it by 10 words if you like.
Okay, we say this.
The first two lines, yeah, if that helps. I would keep the first half of the first sentence. The town of Brooklyn is accepting accurate bids and insert the words to install and go down to 2-pole 20-amp circuits to each of the 6 outdoor units. And then go back up before 24,000 BTU day per year. Cold climate heat pumps are installed at 624 Grassy Brook Road. So it's a one word and it reduces it.
All right,
Section.
I lost the wording on that already. The town of Brookline is accepting accurate bids
And
to
then
install.
insert there to install, yeah.
6.
And you can cross out for electrical work, which needs to be done.
Right,
And then take the third sentence where it starts 2-pole 20-amp circuits, and put that right after the word install.
Install 2 front poles.
okay. So
I see something.
bids to install 2-pole 20-amp circuits to each of the 6 outdoor units.
Yeah. And then go back up to the word before 624,000 BTU day from year to year full climate heat pumps are installed at 624,000. Makes one sentence out of 2 and
Okay,
saves words.
all right, very good. I got it now. Any other changes?
And we'll have 4 slots this time.
All right, do we need to vote on this?
No?
You have to vote on it, or word it, but is everybody confirm that this is accurate enough for?
I mean,
don't mind.
It's acceptable in my opinion. It's acceptable.
All right, so I'll put this in the newspaper, I'll contact them, I'll do it tomorrow morning. I'm not gonna do it by 10:30.
Thank you.
I'll spend another $2 to have a check to make sure it's in.
All
I
right.
love that.
Excellent, very good. RFP discussion for winter plowing and sanding contracts. Now, I had given you that last week. Do you need? Did you bring your copies? You'll make a copy.
Very good.
Stan had a good idea saying, was there anything that we needed to change that we were sorry for when we did it the last time? And the only thing I found difficult with the bid was we want to accept a 2-year bid and it's volatile or let them take it or let them design a 1 or 2-year bid and decide upon opening the bids if we want to go that way, which we've done in the past 2 years, have 2-year bids. Or the other problem was making sure that the company invoices us in a timely fashion for the 4 payments, which we'll have to put in the contract, not in the bid necessarily. But that would be something in the contract that we might need to add, because the second year of a 2-year bid, we forgot to pay January. We should have been reminded or invoiced in December for that. That's the mistake I saw.
I would make one change and suggest a second. In the second paragraph, line 2, the R is missing out of vendors. That what as VENDOS instead of vendors.
Endos.
And then I would suggest doing one or the other, but not leaving it for both. Either ask for a 1-year quote or ask for a 2-year quote. But don't leave it, don't say 1 year, but if you feel like entering a 2-year, then go ahead. It just is confusing.
Shall we do, what do you think, 1 year or 2 year? I'm thinking 1 year, because of the volatility of all the costs.
Well, the only advantage of 2 years, we're locking, we know prices, and we're locking into that price.
If the prices
Well-
are inflated.
What you're saying is the prices are inflated this year, and they're not the next year. The bid would be less next year. Okay. Anybody got a coin?
Yeah, that's it.
I think that if the prices are lower, we should give ourselves the benefit of experiencing lower bid. Particularly when light what gas is doing right now. Greenfield, right now, it's $4.29. On Route 30 in Dunston, it's $4.65. So, there you go. So if we have it done by year, we're not locking ourselves into a 50-50 crapshoot. We could be paying more than we should, or we could be paying less than we should. Get a bid next fall or next late summer, or whatever it's anticipated the near future is gonna contain. So we're fair to the vendor and we're fair to the town.
I'm with you. I think that considering the gas isn't gonna stay the same. You're very surprised. I don't know what's gonna happen this winter, but the way Joe is handling it and what's going on with the road and everything. I think no, I'm not gonna go into all that. Basically, the bottom line is this. I think that by the time we get to this time next year, that it's not gonna be as volatile. Talk about the price of crude than it is now. I think it's gonna stabilize, and that's just from what I see, from what I hear from other people. What do I know? Not a hell of a lot.
So what,
I think I'm agreeing that we do it 1 year, and if they squawk about it, 1 or 2 years.
all right, I'm going to strike the sentence, the select
We
board.
gave it 2 year last time.
The select board will consider accepting a 2-year contract for winter plowing and sanding from vendors with an established history in good standing.
Okay.
There's no guarantee that a 2-year bid will be awarded, however, I'm gonna cross that out, and it's only going to be
Okay,
a 1-year bid.
Average gas is $42.
Sorry, could you clarify the term of the contract? 1 year, 1 year or 2?
You're going to advertise for a 1-year contract for winter plowing and standing for the winter of 2022-23.
Thanks.
Any question about the winter sand bid, which follows the winter invitation to bid?
That was the same.
That was the same, correct? Anybody have any changes that they would like to see in the winter sand bid? Yes, Dan.
Just one minor one, line 6 of the first paragraph. After the word bid period, there appears either an I or an L, which should be deleted. Other than that, it's.
Typing so fast.
There you go, I figured it had somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
When you get to 140 words a minute, it gets difficult.
That was the only class I failed freshman year was typing.
140.
The only class I failed in high school was typing.
Oh,
And that's
I
the
don't know.
only thing I do now.
Wow, wow.
All right,
Well,
I
you
will
blew
edit,
that one, didn't you?
I will edit that, request for proposal so that its typo has been removed. And I
There
will put
appears
it-
to be sorry, there was a transmission problem there, but I got it.
So, we're gonna put an ad in for winter sand for the 2022-23 season in the newspaper as well. And it will be open again at 7:15, on August 17th. All right.
I don't know.
Okay. RFP discussion, RFP for grants and aid project. Do we need to, I'm gonna ask, Mark. Archie was going to work out a bid for that mitigation across from Oman's.
Yeah.
We don't have to get this, so I'll table this at this time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know last night he had it nearly figured, but
If he does get it done, we can share, it. It's not a votable thing, it's a request for proposal, we can share it through the email, or I can put it in for, because I don't think. Do you need to use the rented excavator? No, we would use the excavator for that project, so it doesn't have to be done in the next 3 weeks. Yeah, okay, because that, we don't have the excavator after.
That's 17th, isn't it? Isn't that what you said, that's the month?
This next meeting. Yeah.
What was the last day for the Willets?
the 18th of August. But on the contract, it says that we have to call. They don't just.
Come and get it.
Come get it, we have to notify them.
Okay,
Talk a little bit about that pickup date when we get down to.
yeah, last one, things we talk about that. too.
Okay. All right, item E, it says review and approve hazardous waste policy. That was in the minutes, draft minutes. I think it was referring to the Westminster hazard mitigation that you all gave me permission to tell Wyndham Regional that we're good with it. So, there is no hazardous waste policy for us to review. Moving on to the next item, old business. I did send to everyone a letter I gave to, I emailed and snail mailed to Chief Goddard, and he apologized for his involvement in the billing of the $5,770 for the fire on May 1st. He is removing that, our request, and will directly deal with the person that lost the fire, the culpable person. So we're out of it, we saved $5,770.
Since Melissa had offered to contact the town manager over in Putney, does she know that we have done this, so she doesn't call up the town manager and ask for status? Should we advise her that we send it along to the fire department directly and they're going to contact them?
I will.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you for remembering that.
Yeah,
I
no
will do
problem.
that. Thank you. Okay, Southern Vermont telephone equipment was installed, and there was a training session yesterday morning. It was 2 hours long. It was a little on and off, and Marty was running up and down the stairs, plugging and unplugging things. Pretty much, we have 4 mailboxes. 1 is for town clerk, 2 is for listers, 3 is for select board, and 4 is for the town treasurer. He explained how calls would get routed, and how the guy can transfer calls or messages that may have inappropriately been left in his mailbox that should go to the treasurer and such, and so Guy has been trained in that. You mentioned in an email that you would work with Judy and Melissa on learning the phone.
If they wanted it, yeah, but Judy even sent me an email today saying a guy went over it with them this afternoon.
Oh, okay,
They seem to have a pretty good understanding,
okay,
and I think they're okay for the time being.
okay.
Earlier last week, or the email that you saw, there wasn't an immediate response to, so I think her email to me today was a response to that email. Looks like they're okay as it is. If they meet up, they won't hesitate. I don't know if the guy gave them a copy of that quick list that makes it so easy to follow. If not, I can just email it to both of them tomorrow as a added thought. If they've got it already, great. If they don't,
Right, would you do that? You would email that to them and say, you know, let's know what's up. And you do have to dial 9 to get out. So it's like a hotel, you dial 9, 802, whatever you have to. All right, the steeple painting, all right, you have, the steeple painting he was supposed to start last week on Wednesday. And he called me up and said that the lift people had no drivers until Friday to deliver the lift. So the date of start would be changed to Friday. And on Friday, he came here and the lift people delivered a 45-foot lift instead of a 60-foot lift. So he rejected it and sent it back. And I was going to today, but I didn't. I was running out of time, just to see if he has heard anything, but you know, he was here last week and I don't believe he's screwing up his schedule.
Oh, God.
So,
Well, lucky that's nothing we did.
so, we're just awaiting that, and I'm going to call him and call the payment and just see what's up. I think that's something that I have to share. All right, the next item was a concern about the deposit that was late in getting back to us for $1,531.89. And we got that money back from after I sent a letter and an email. So that's been taken care of. Item E, what I'd like to do, refers to IRA status, vacation time review, road supervisor's appointment and such. We originally, back in September of last year, said that Mark would make so much money for a maximum of so many hours with up to 5% match for an IRA and 2 weeks paid vacation. 2 weeks paid. Yes,
Okay.
but what we need, was it 2 weeks? It was 2 weeks.
I'm just thinking it was one.
You know what?
I thought too.
I have to, it was one, I'm sorry,
That's what I thought.
it was 1 week. It was 1 week, you said,
I think, I agree with you, I thought that's what it was.
but what I like, I guess I've never done it, and I guess I should do it, is that you really should have this listed somewhere. So that it's not based upon call,
Oh,
Mark Bill's for this number of
it
hours.
was like a
this
job, that's not a job.
The minutes highlight those things, the minimum 30 hours, or up to 30 hours. And 1 week's vacation, now I'm sitting here thinking of it, because for one of the IRA discussions we had earlier, I would actually look at that minutes, and that's what it exactly had, with a 5% match for a retirement program. So those are the key points you discussed, but they aren't in a legible place, in an easy format to read, minimum amount or maximum hours per week, number of weeks, vacation weeks, et cetera. So something like that would probably be very helpful.
So I will type that up, share it with you all, and then,
Or if you want to designate it to Bruce and me to do it.
Is that based on a road supervisor's position? It's not pertaining specifically to one.
correct, it's a road supervisor.
That's right.
Would you like to take that over?
I
I'm glad to
don't
delegate
mind at
that to
all,
you.
and this would be the time to talk about the IRA or later on.
No, we
whatever
can talk
you
about
like.
it, we can talk about it now,
Okay,
IRA
okay.
status.
Okay.
All right, I will delegate
Please,
together his, yeah, that makes me not famous now. All right, so what can we,
Yeah, we can't do an IRA, either Roth or standard IRA, because we're doing a match. Because we're doing a match, it immediately excludes those two. If we do it as a SEP or a simple IRA, we're limited in the amount of match that we can do to 3%. So the 5% that we promised Mark and we agreed to is not doable. Before the last meeting, you may recall, I indicated that I had Googled government retirement programs and came up with something that was a combination of IRS and I think some financial entities description, which indicated there was a government program available that allowed a much greater match, a dollar amount or percentage than 3%. By the employer. And it indicated that it could handle, the employee side of things. So the simple IRA, the SEP IRA, the basic IRA, and the Roth IRA, all four of those are out. I said in a discussion recently to Dot that I was gonna check with another town and find out where they got theirs. And on that payroll survey that I did before we offered you a counteroffer to stay with the town, I found 4 towns out of 7 that were offering their employees a retirement program. So this,
But older.
it didn't
Say
define how many and which ones, but there is a program that they offer. So I called one of those towns this afternoon, and they told me they do it through the Vermont Municipal Employees Retirement System. They call it VEMRS. And it so happens that when I logged onto it and started reading the data, it is describing the program that the website that I logged onto a couple weeks ago, trying to find what would fit what we promised our road supervisor. It's in that category, but it didn't define it. It didn't define. I had 30 some odd pages and I still hadn't found out what it was. So when I logged onto VEMRS and started going through their various web pages, I realized that what they were going to channel us to is one of 3 programs which fall in the category of a government municipal retirement program that doesn't have the limitations of those other 2 categories, the IRA and the SEP and so forth. It allows a significant amount of money to be put away by the employee and an amount that can be put away or contributed to the program by the employer in the rest of town. There's one that's called a state and municipal program. There's a state program and there's a municipal program. For our purposes, it looks like the municipal program is requiring there be a human resource officer to control and keep track of it. The other 2 are done through investment agencies, and they are pretty much like mutual fund programs. when you look at the options that they offer, there's like somewhere between 50 and 25 different programs that you can put all or some of your monies to. I went in and logged it and looked at the forms. Each form says, how much do you want to go into this fund, how much you want to go in that fund, how much you want to go in this fund, and they almost equal 100%. So that whatever the percentage is, you can either make it a percentage of your pay or a standard dollar amount you contribute to this program if you go through this Venus program. I did not see one that was a simple cash where you put money in the deposit account. And I wanted to recover that base for you in the event you didn't want to go mutual fund or fund with stocks and bonds and so forth. So I got on the phone and I called the department. The lady that, since much of the state seemed to be working from home on Zoom, the lady was not accessible. She said, leave a message on her answering machine, which I did. She left her email address and she spoke so fast, I can't decipher what her last name really is. So what I did is I went back onto the website for the Beavers program, and it's a division of the Treasurer's Office of the state of Vermont, so the retirement division. And I emailed to the NAS number that anyone who was an inquiry, I'm getting it's Brookline, we have an employee, the lady in Townsend, I spoke with the treasurer, Ellen, said the employee has to work a minimum of 26 hours a week. And that the amounts that apparently they're utilizing for their programs is 5.25% by the employee or the town, and 6.5 by the other person. So they're above the 5% by what they're doing. So I know we can do that through that program. It would seem to me that on the surface, either the state or the municipal and state program would be the ones that we want to do it, because it appears that all the record keeping is done by the investment firm for the state, which is Prudential. Okay, so the tax filings, all that kind of stuff would be produced by them, nothing that Melissa would have to take care of.
Great, that's good.
So the message I left was we have a person, they work a minimum of 30, they work 30 hours per week up to, they have 1 week's vacation, and I wanted to know how we go about it. If there's a form that the town needs to fill out above and beyond the employee. And there are probably gonna be 3 to 4 forms that the employee will fill out. Asking who your beneficiary is, the primary, who's the secondary beneficiary. Again, whether you wanna be a dollar amount. The town has the ability to do either an elective amount or one that is required to be made regardless of whether the employee makes a deposit to their retirement account. A match usually implies you only do it if the employee does it. So that would involve you having to tell somebody every 2 weeks, and it is a 2-week period that's on their state's program. So it would be kind of like matching our present 2-week scenario. There'd be nothing that the treasurer would have to do on there.
Right.
Okay, so, but it's gonna involve a commitment to either, it looks like they're gonna ask you to make a commitment to either do a percentage or dollar. That's my take on it. But when that person responds to my email and or my voicemail, I've got that on a list of questions to ask. Does the employee have to do it every week, or can they not do it if they choose to? We have that option. And then I've asked already the town, what papers the town has to fill in. So it's a lot more complicated than we had originally thought. And I guess the question really is, are you gonna be contributing a decision you need to make? And we have to play our end by ear. If you're not gonna do anything, then there's nothing to match.
Yeah.
So it almost looks like in order to get a benefit that is of use toward retirement for any individual that's an employee on that program, they should pay a certain amount or a certain percentage of what they make each pay period. And then the town can match that.
Yes, we got that decision.
Yeah.
Before you answer that question. But the amount that he puts in isn't limited.
There are limits to every program.
I'm
And
talking
one-
about the amount he contributes.
Yeah, in theory, according to what I read, that he can contribute 100% of his salary to his retirement.
That's what I meant.
So
There's no restriction with that regard.
for the employee,
Correct.
but
That's what I
but the only restriction is what he decides when he fills out his application.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
okay,
And then
But
of
he-
course, we have it on record that we're only getting 5%.
correct. But he could, if he wanted to throw in an extra 1,000 to his IRA, he could do that.
Not with the form, not with the application form that I saw. There is a way where they will allow, and this part I have not focused on, I have not done any of these things. I've looked at IRS filings, I found out the IRS book 963 that supposedly applies to the 457B program under which this falls is no longer produced. You can't find it, you log in to get it, so I said, how does this affect, I'm gonna read that, it's the IRS reg, but you know, you can't knock that around, you can't change that, so it didn't happen. So, but I did find the other one for the 457B program, that's been consistent with everything else I've seen. But to answer your question about can he, there appears to be, and you maybe you wanna take advantage of this if you can, where you can do a makeup. If you haven't done it before, or there's something that prevented you from doing it, there is a possibility to make a one-time makeup deposit to the account.
I'm not kidding.
So I don't know what the limits are on it,
And also how it reflects the taxes too.
well, that
Because,
is, right,
because his, whatever he makes for income, it is deferred tax.
that's right.
And I really.
And you have a choice, there, it looks like on the application where you can say, I want you to tax me now, or I want you to defer. So if it's
Really?
deferred, it's like an Roth IRA, where you pay you don't pay, I mean, a Roth, like regular IRA, if you defer it for a regular conventional IRA, you don't pay any tax on the amount you put into that retirement account for that year. With the Roth IRA, you pay your taxes up front,
Okay,
and later on after you retire, you start taking that money out, you're not taxing. Because you already paid it up front when you first got it, even though you put it into a retirement account. And for your own benefit, when I sat down with my advisor and my wife and I sat down together with hers as well, the summary statement is you'd be better off with a Roth, paying it up front than
really?
putting it off. They did
Really?
charts, and it comes out, you get
Is
more
that
money
right?
back, yes.
Rather than doing the deferred, and it's 69 and a half, you have to start withdrawing our tax, whatever rate it is.
Right, or whatever time you retire.
How much income, but would it depend on how much money you're making?
I have no idea. I haven't done the chart. All I know, she
We don't
said,
wanna confuse.
it
Do you
didn't
follow
seem to
me?
make a difference how much I made.
Do you-
It's one system over the other system.
Okay, Smith. I can speak from what I have. And I didn't have a match. I had everything contributed by my companies. I went open IRAs, I got 4 of them. And now that I'm past 69 and a half, it's been going on for the last couple of years, I have to take a certain amount of percentage out every year. It's taxable. Of course, the tax is based on how much you make. So that's what I was getting at with you, is if he's making more money now, his taxable is greater than if he's making less money later. Income. See what I mean?
Yeah, but
What?
well, yes and no, it depends on what kind of fall in.
That's what a financial advisor should.
That's right.
Yeah, that-
If you
I'm not,
already pay taxes on it,
be that.
if they already pay taxes on it, why would you include it a second time in your income? When you get your statement from the investor, the company that's managing your funds for you, if you've already paid taxes on it, and they provide you with the proper form for tax reporting purposes, the amount of taxable income will not include what you've already paid taxes on. So that's a little twist to it's not
Alright,
simply income,
okay.
the income is a category that's comprised of components. And if it's one you've already paid the taxes on, it will not be in that income to be taxed.
Again, that's true.
Okay.
Now, I know, I got a little more than I know that. I know a guy locally that's pretty friendly that works for the name of the company. It's right next to Bradford Savings and Loan. Good guy, Ed Boy, I don't know if he does anything.
Edward Jones, I think it is.
Was it?
Edward
Yes.
Jones.
According
Yes.
to Wikipedia.org,
And
The Good Guy is a 2009 romantic comedy film.
Something's
directed by
interrupting
Leo
you.
Richter, starring Alexis Bledel, and Brian Greenwood.
okay.
Is Alexa
That's what you said.
Oh, it's probably Alexa.
So
So-
so
Are you guys being Zoom bombed?
I
Yeah,
think
no,
so.
that's a commercial.
If we have to go through, are we
So I guess
designated as to who we have to use, credential, whatever? If
the
it's
state
numerous-
program is prudential.
Okay.
There's no choice in that. It goes to the state. And it looks like that's the way,
Okay.
I can call the other 3, 4 towns to confirm, but I suspect that's what it is.
And also,
It seems
Guy
to
brought
be-
this up, sorry, Don, I'm sorry. The Guy brought this up last year about this.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how far we got. I don't know if that's all, but I'm done with my little spews of this and that, so Doc, you want to get.
Well, a couple of things, I do know Melissa is familiar with VNURS because she's brought that up
Ooh.
before.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, I like the fact that there is a one-time makeup, because right now, September 1st would be the second year that, so
That's
we
correct.
really should have a makeup.
Yeah.
For this year for us to match.
Sounds good.
And that was my.
But that means Mark has to come with a chunk of change.
If
Well,
you would-
our part, if we're gonna match, and he hasn't matched, then he might be right, he might have to. So,
Right.
If you would like us to provide 5% of what you earn from September 1st to August 31st, so 31
This
days in
year.
August, for this year, we would calculate that, and then that would be something. But if you're comfortable with coming up with that much, if not, if you wanna do a 4% or 3% or 2%, 1%, we would match whatever up to 5%. So we'll have to sit down with you outside of a public meeting.
But this is great because go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm learning.
Okay,
The
this
other
enables us to catch up, which is
That's
great.
what I'm saying.
That's
I-
great.
Yeah, the
So
makeup.
so you don't get shortchanged, which is what I'm concerned about. Always have them, it's a nice word, Stan.
the thing
I'm
that,
like a follow.
the thing that Melissa probably has a real familiarity with, that would be right up her alley, is when I look at the background of it, it's all automated and it's tied in with Nemrock as Nemrock. as a
Yes.
system.
Oh.
So that's what we have now. Whatever the state is gonna convert to down the road, if they do convert, I assume that it'll be a statewide thing, it'll be just a
Oh.
continuation of whatever, and it'll make everyone's job within the bookkeeping department so
Oh,
much
boy.
easier, and our job easier at the end of the year, so.
Okay.
We don't have to follow up, and make sure the retention on
Okay.
So I think we're a long ways ahead, and I'd like to have it finalized in terms of understanding, present to you for the next.
Great, this is warm and fuzzy. So Mike can start thinking about how much money you want to give us. And you have any questions, anything you don't understand at this point?
Can I modify that to learn how much money you wanna pay yourself, so that you retire?
Boy, that's a
And
good way
maybe
to put it.
more.
And let me tell you from a work,
But that's enough, we're done on
the guy that I tried to convince to do this years ago didn't do it, still working after 35 years. So let me tell you, from the person who worked 24 years and 11 months, pensions and IRAs, beautiful. So take full advantage of it. Doc can go choo-choo, right, Doc?
So, Mark, the only thing that what you might find a little difficult is every 2 weeks, you're gonna have to put in your time. It's gonna have to become pretty automated for you as well. And if anybody can help you, you just need to reach out.
Yeah, because Judy and Melissa will go crazy if it starts getting a stance.
And then there's one question is like it's 30 hours. 1 week isn't 30, but the next
It's all-
week is only
Doesn't matter.
the year.
Yeah, that would be something, because we said it was 1,560 hours, up to 30 hours a week, or 1,560 hours a year. So he may, as he says, he may be doing 60-hour weeks in the summer and doing 5 or 7-hour weeks in the winter. So that's the only thing that is.
But it will
It will balance out.
flex.
It will-
But the bottom line is, we owe him 1,000, how many
I think
hours?
it's 1560.
If you work that amount for that given year, times the 5% of your income.
But what we're not doing with Mark is saying, Mark, you're gonna make $32,000 this year. You know, or 68 or $130,000. We're saying your salary for the year will be based on how many hours you actually work, up to the max, which we pre-funded with the ARPA money to make sure that we had it to pay for the max, okay? So
I
it's
will
not.
ask those specifics when we talk with the people up there,
Thank
to
you,
make
Mark.
sure that they're not requiring that you
So-
actually work 26 hours.
So what you're doing, Stan, is you're clearing the field, so when you talk to Melissa and Judy, you're all set to go.
Well, it sounds like it's gonna be something Melissa's already familiar with. So
Great,
it'll be a piece of cake for her. Hopefully, we'll be in compliance and there won't be any issues. We're not gonna be in violation of any limits or percentages. It's what we want to do, which is the good thing.
right,
And it's just a matter of finding out the options. It appears to be, this is tailor-made for municipalities.
great.
And I already have the name of the person that services this area, Susan Kitty. And so when I didn't email her, but it looks like when we all draw these strings together to come up with a meaningful package, we'll be ready to go. It should be by your anniversary date, hopefully at the change.
One time I received, I don't know if it's more, a calendar, a
Schedule.
schedule. Is there a way to get another one of those?
Okay, I'll see if I can get one from the
Yeah,
office.
he's simplicity, given all the work he does every day. He wants to number of miles of paperwork every 2 months. I got what you're saying. Mark out
Well, it's
miles of
more
paperwork.
paperwork if you wait for 2 months, so.
Yes.
I'm not saying,
It's
I'm
more,
not saying,
yeah.
what I'm saying
yeah.
is he's just trying, that's, you keep it simple for him.
Good, yeah. Thank you, Stan, that's
You're welcome.
wonderful.
Boy, that was a hell of a job.
Good job.
Whew.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next road. I don't know, we can take a break if you want, because we're early.
No.
I just assumed you're right, it's all right with you.
And Rosa, goodbye, so Mark, you wanna talk about what your projects are, what you'd like to have some work with?
Well, I'll just go over what I've been doing first, with the new excavator. Replace a couple of culverts. And then we'll get into cleaning ditches, cleaning culverts that have silted in. And these are all areas that need cleaning year to year. Some need more than year to year, but the opportunity of having the excavator here, it's been nice hitting the priority spots that I've monitored for the whole year and waited for the opportunity to clean them up nice and using this new state standard and cleaning them out deep enough to apply ditch stone. So it'll meet the road segment that safety program. So I've actually accomplished quite a bit of that. Some of them still need a few details to bring them complete, but having the excavator has allowed me to cover a good share of the Athens section, Athens Road, Grassy Brook Road, Whitney Hill Road, Parker Road, Putney Mountain, rest areas all over pavement. We also had a major diameter size tree tip over down near Merrill Drive. But now intersection, just one nice day, a tree rotted at the roots, tipped over. Fortunately, nobody was in the area. We did put the power out, like rushed the power lines and used the machine to clean that tree up.
We should have all the time.
Without the machine, it would have been.
There we are, right there.
It was a big help. It
That's
also
what it is.
a dead elm tree right nearby that also got taken down at the same time. Last winter, up on Athens Road, there was a culvert that bothered, and it was on private property. And the water flowed out off the property onto the town road, and it froze and created a terrible mess for the entire winter. The house is now being sold, up for sale. I walked in to look where the issue was and found that the header stone had tipped down over the inlet of the culvert. So I reached down in and pulled the header stones up out and stacked them. So that should take care of our winter icing problem up there. Also replaced the culvert on Whitney Hill that was totally rusted out, no bottom whatsoever to the culvert, and that was freezing and causing the road in the winter. So we've actually, the priority areas are areas that I remember throughout the year being problems, maybe through wet season, in winter. And I was cleaning ditches 2 days ago. And in mind to finish up a road segment with ditch stone, cleaning ditches and applying ditch stone and taking the berms off the sides the way that they're supposed to. And as I got halfway down a section of road, I could no longer dig. There was ledge up here. And it's right up, so the water seeps into the gravel lanes. And I'm thinking that because of this ledge, it's the reason that we have wet season so badly in the same place year after year. So I continued to clean the ledge off and ditch to the bottom of the hill. And stone lined everything with the ledge area. And I have a question here. I believe time frame wise, it's between half a day to a whole day job. And I was gonna see if the board would approve. AS Parks has this hydraulic hammer to break ledge, and it's ideal for small jobs such as this. There's power lines overhead, blasting would be kind of type thing. This would be a simple chiseling away the ledge to get the proper drainage to allow the water to flow.
How much this section is?
I've actually got a picture that I was gonna send around.
What road is it?
It's Grassy Brook Road, it's the dirt section of Grassy
You
Brook.
know where the Cornish driveway is?
Yes.
On that passenger side, that up that way. It's within 100 yards of the Cornish driveway.
This is, I took the picture tonight and
Ah,
it's shaded,
yeah.
it doesn't give it any justice, but
It's the city of Toronto. Sorry,
so I
thank you.
had a meeting with Archie last night, with FEMA paperwork, and I asked if they would go up and witness this to see if it's something that we could address while we have the rented excavator, because if we could get Parks to come in with their machine, it is in town at their pit, they're using it to break up ledge that they run through their crusher, so they can break it, they just need a machine to pull the stuff out of the way so that they can continue their hammer and get it down to the proper depth. So if we could maybe consider approving the use of their machine for 3.5 and a whole day. And I asked Archie what that would mean for financing, and he said it would definitely be under purchase policy.
Wouldn't be over $7,500.
To continue the topic, there's no culvert between the top of the hill and the next culvert down is a driveway culvert. Driveway culvert is the former Cornish driveway that gives you the area. So it's up the hill toward Athens from Cornish's old driveway. And It's halfway up. This section of road what's up year after year, even with the flagstone, it still has this issue in the middle of the road. And I started to dig across there one time for a culvert and realized that that ledge we're looking at in the ditch goes across the road on an angle. So it's holding water underground, under the surface. So if they were there to improve the ditch line, and I was there to dig for a new culvert, if I got down to this ledge and they could hand me a trough to get that new culvert across, that would take all the pressure off the driveway culvert, and it would allow seepage to go through. I think it would improve wetlands and improve the section of the road.
To add that the grassy brook would be at the very, right there, so you wouldn't be draining the culvert water into any personal property, and go right into the grassy brook. The driveway culvert's only 9 inches, and it would be overwhelmed and washed out under any rain. 15 inches, oh.
Even that's not
It's the
bad.
standard, but for the length of ditch and all the sheeting water that comes off from the east side of the road.
Should be at least 18 inches of feet, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think at 18, but it's just, the big part is the distance.
Yeah.
There should be a culvert halfway.
And I just also want to make note, when Archie, we looked at it last night, Archie said that, this goes back to Nelson Fontaine, complained about this area, and there was no equipment to do this. And then you looked at it a few years ago, and then again this year. So I think with our equipment, that I would like to promote having this was an unanticipated project with the hiring it out, but I think it's important. This is the part of the road that people have asked us to close the Athens Road when it gets so muddy because they just can't drive on it. And so we really can't close it because the ambulances and fire departments, but.
This would also complete a segment for us. Bringing us up to
Off the state specs, what you said.
Right.
So that means it's grantable,
By removing that ledge and.
so we can get a grant for it?
No, it
Not-
just,
No.
it's
Eventually, we're gonna have it made for another job. The road. That's what the $6,700 is for. So this would have to come out of some other source, or rainy day fund, or.
Highway fund.
We got enough for highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general contractor. Budget is what that's for. It's hiring contractors.
Okay.
Materials is a separate budget. And the culverts, I have 10 full-length 20-foot culverts in stockpile, and I do have short pieces, I have 14-foot. So
Schooling.
it's gonna take at least 2 culverts if we decide to do the culvert.
I have questions whenever it's time.
I believe that's.
So this ledge that's jutting itself out into the road and then in a way proceeding under the road, we're gonna blast, or I shouldn't say blast, chip through it so that there is a nice flow in line with the culvert, the depressed area. Ditch on both ends of that. We're not, are we taking any from underneath the road?
Yeah, so when I test dug here, these are ledge chunks in the ditch. As I tried to dig across, this ledge is running kind of northwesterly. So any under drainage, the water dams up and on the north side, so. If the water goes in on this angle. As we got in there to the area of ledge, they can hammer deep enough to allow this culvert to now come into this proper ditch and over, as well as flow down to the next one. It's quite a lengthy,
I'm into it.
drainage, and this hill, this mountain,
Just as you get onto Athens, I just feel.
fills this ditch in the
I don't know what I'm saying.
springtime, so it gets a lot of rain and runoff.
I would like to, I mean, it's obviously necessary. Nelson from his time and he's a student, the current student numbers that you've seen about, I'm totally confident in that. I guess I'm all for it. If we got the money to pay for it, I'd say we should do it. The only thing is, I don't know if we have the money, in fact, and secondly, I'm uncomfortable with a response of, well, it's under your purchase cost. That means it's less than 7,500, or is it less than 1,000? I'm assuming it's between 1,000 and 7,500, but I'd be kind of curious to know what it would be.
Well, if I can shed a little light, I asked how much they charged for the hammer 2 years ago. Things have shown up since, but this will give you a rough figure. They, a couple of years ago, we get 2,000 piece of the hammer excavator.
We have to go fast, but it's also minus inflation.
That's
I'm sure.
useful for all the labor.
That's
Operating
operating the machine in and generate.
But this is a machine that already has.
Yes,
So-
it's on Grassy Brook Road now, it's in the pit, he's using it to break up his own ledge.
They were working on a stretch of Athens Road last week.
Yeah.
And I went by while they were doing it, and it was amazing to see what they accomplished.
They, I talked to their road guy and they had gotten some grants for that. And part of the grant was they used that ledge that they were breaking up for their stone line.
Ah, that's a good idea.
So it became
Uh-huh.
an added
Yeah.
bonus,
Yeah.
being able to utilize it.
Maybe we can do that too. So I'm for it.
It would be considered when our purchase policy as a regular purchase, and
Okay.
we do have contractor division, money in this,
Okay.
for this kind of work.
Important. I will support
Let's
it.
go.
You know, so if they charge somewhere in the 2,000, I'm guessing,
But then again, what we gotta
and
get.
then, you know,
It is
the
what it
rented
is.
excavator is a certain price per
Yeah.
our term. Just my labor and fuel. We have over the inventory.
Sounds like it's gonna solve the problems.
I think it's better. I think it's gonna benefit mud season.
So if there's a vote, if there's a motion to do it, I will second it.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the ledge removal, and culvert installation north of what we formerly used to call the Cornish driveway.
1068.
Athens, Brookline Athens Road, on the eastern side.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Stan, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of allowing this additional highway road work to be done, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Mark, you have a project.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
When you're done with your stuff, I want to ask a question. Go ahead.
I just want to be clear on the motion.
Motion was.
Well, it was
authorize-
authorized ledge removal and culvert installation, but I missed the location.
Location.
The location,
North of 1068,
That's
Grassy Brook Road.
north of 1068 Grassy Brook Road
on the eastern side.
on the eastern side.
Thank you.
Okay.
How'd you know that best? I know, don't even tell.
You lived there for a while, didn't you?
Stan, you moved in, did you? I think you moved in, did you?
No, Cutler
I
Lane.
would get lost.
Okay, let's continue on, Mark, go ahead.
The only other question I had was, monitoring the recycle bin. So Bruce is right, I tried to call in on Thursday so that it would last, for the next Thursday, but it was full by Monday.
Yeah.
So,
This time.
do you want me to, once a week, or do you want it?
If we need to do it twice a week, remember, we used to have 2 bins there, and then to come back, and we'll rotate it as needed. And in the winter time, it slows down.
I was gonna
Yes.
say there's probably more people around in the summer, I didn't know
That's what happened.
if I hold back, if that's gonna be rude.
You hold back, you're gonna be picking up dirty diapers again.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
That
Just do what you gotta do.
seems to be the same.
Do it to the best of health, because we don't wanna have an unsanitary area, we don't wanna have wild animals there. I did see a skunk there last night when I left.
Bears and everything else.
It's not there, so
I mean, I think your sign helps a lot.
don't come back in 36 hours.
Yeah.
But there's always one that's got household garbage that.
We actually had a resident who emailed me, and she said she took a bag of the household garbage to see if she could find mail.
She's found what?
Wow.
Mail, who it was, because
That's
there's people who are fed up with
Oh.
this. She didn't, but she, you know, that people are being protective of ourselves, so that's good.
Okay, well, that's good. I didn't wanna overstep and I figured we'd like to do one a week, but.
No, you need to do more than one a week just to keep the place clean and do it. Anything else, Mark?
No.
Okay, I got, go ahead.
Mark, Bruce had a question?
In relationship to the amount of time you have left, which is 15 days, are you doing with mowing?
No, I never,
They haven't done it?
they called and said
Cut my side
it was
with them.
almost ready. As soon as it was ready, they contacted me, come over and install it. But
That's a
I
week.
put some thought into it and I talked a little bit. I was thinking, or Don asked the question, was there gonna be an extra fee for them bringing it and taking it back if we only use it 1 week? So why not use it the last week?
Okay. This
So
leaves me,
that the pickup would include the arm. In the same breath, I'm gonna throw this at you guys. We usually rented for a week for 4,500, a machine in June. And then again in September, for mowing. We didn't do that. Last September, they didn't have one, and they didn't have one for us in June. So we're doing everything in 1 week. And Mark is gonna lose a week of excavator work for FEMA repairs. Is there any possibility or consideration to extend the 6th week to 7 weeks?
what's the cost?
$2,000 a week, another $2,000 above.
You
Really
recall the
We will be
rental,
getting some money back on this rental from FEMA because it is being used. Now, last year, we got $7,000 that we spent on this excavator will be 100% refunded by FEMA. So we didn't spend that, we're gonna get it back. So I think
We can go in the hole, they
we're
spend
not
that.
gonna necessarily go in the hole, but I'm thinking it's financially, it's a financial situation, but I don't think it's irresponsible. I think it's prudent.
if the machine is 2,000 a week. And what was the lower rental, do you recall, was it 13.95? Seeing it, but I just wanted to add those. two up.
$13.35
13
a week.
3,335, and we were paying 45
$4,500 for a week.
for 4 days for the. real money. So it's a little bit of a saving if you're just looking at a week of mowing.
So we would not be doing a second mowing this year, just one. And I think
Late year.
late in the year, we get, so
You
again,
get done, have a nice day. So
what, I know I'm hitting you up with this.
grass stops growing when she gets into the first part of September.
Can you think, do you think, let's discuss about extending that, see if we can get a seventh week,
Okay,
the seventh week for mowing.
okay.
Does it say on there, Dot, anything about the? About this, I know somewhere I read call when done. As far as the rental goes.
And they may have it promised to somebody else, but it wouldn't hurt to ask them if
Yeah,
we could,
right.
you know, if it's necessary and cost effective to accomplish what needs to be done. So for that extra week, we'll be using it for what purpose? For the work on Putney Mountain Road? For the FEMA or?
For the extra week, we would keep the 6 weeks just for what normally we were gonna do, and the seventh week would be for mowing.
I see, okay.
Yeah, question to Mark, you're talking, not including that week, you have 15 days left that you have left, including weekends. 15 solid.
Well, there's hours per week, I think, right? They've got it hours on the hour meter that they watch as well. It's so many hours per week, I believe.
Do they charge us for are they limiting us to 40-hour weeks, or are they unlimited hours?
It's stated on the contract, if you have a copy of that, either 45 or 50 hours.
No.
The summary bill, I think, had it on it.
Do you want me to pass it to you? Maybe you recognize it. This is terms and conditions on the second page. As it is without the mower, the total rental is $6,600 plus $1,500 for round trip delivery and pickup of the mower.
This isn't the one.
If we were going to, when we get the rental arm, that is an additional 1,300 and whatever.
So it's gonna be another $3,400.
Yes.
Total.
So the money I saved from the fire and that's.
Sounds like a household. Mark?
Yeah.
Given that you got 15 days left, are you jam packed for that entire time? Or can we get those trees in that we talked about? Because one of those definitely gotta come,
Yeah,
because it's pointed right at the school.
great, I can spend a weekend day doing it.
I wanted to ask you that. It would be better to do it on a weekend because of the chainsaw part, as you figured it out. Because I think I would have a real fit with those people. If we start using a couple of Husqvarnas at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll go through the roof.
Yeah.
So if we can, and give me, we've looked at it, you reasonably. My question is, how long if it would take one, depending on how many people you get to do with. So if you can share this with everybody, we can talk about it.
The priorities were the pine trees down by the, yeah,
And that chariot too, if we can get that chariot for tonight. Great.
it's gonna take a full day of cleaning. Yeah. we could do it.
So how about one weekend we cut it down, next weekend? Maybe.
Right.
Okay. How many people should be involved? More the merrier, don't you think? Because if we get to the chip cleanup stage, your idea is excellent about cleaning, chipping. So what we were looking at, cutting the trees down. He demanded to do it. I almost insulted him one day, asked him if he could do it, sorry about that. And he came up with a great suggestion of using a wood chipper rather than having to do all those boughs, because there's a ton of them, I mean, we're talking pine trees, and they're 60, 75 feet high. And it's 4, I believe.
So that's another 2 days besides the week of mowing. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. that
Right.
I would
do the extra week.
do the extra bit because I think we're gonna be getting that money back from.
Yeah. Yes, I
And
just want to make sure we can still do that, because that, for 2 reasons. One reason is that pine tree is facing right at the infrared, and it's dead. And the second reason is the obvious. So I also was to get this, it's my town, my report, but I had another person look at the panels, and he's concurred, those trees are in the way, they interfere with reception of the panels.
you know what I'm gonna suggest this time? Mark, can you call them up? Talk to the company. See, first of all, if it's possible, scheduling wise, on their promise, that they promised to somebody else, we may be spinning our wheels here as it is.
For the extra week.
If you would do that and get back to me, we can communicate it to the board, and if the board feels that they need to get together for a 5-minute approval meeting, we can do that. If not, we won't do it.
Let me ask this though, what happens if we don't get the extra week? You can't do mowing.
He's gonna do the mowing, he's not gonna be able to FEMA work done, we're gonna have to contract our
boy.
AS Clark to do it.
Oh, boy.
It's
Then
gonna,
it gets
it's
real
gonna cost
close.
us one way or another.
Yeah, okay. So we gotta get
Well,
that extra.
if that's the choice, that's our decision, we're pitted against having an outside firm do it versus a machine that we're already paying for $2,000 a week to do it. If it's something that Mark can do without the assistance of the other entity, then it would make financial sense to do the additional week.
I
And we
agree.
should
Very
approve
good.
that.
Now-
Unfortunately, in light of other events that have happened, we can't make decisions on something that's on the agenda. So we probably need to have a special meeting. It would be nice to have that soon after or before you make the call, so that if they say we have it available, you're able to say, lock it in.
Although I'll say, call them tomorrow, or do you want me to call?
Yeah, you
I'll call
you have
Dan,
Daniel.
Daniel,
Yeah,
I have Daniel's phone number somewhere in more places than I need
You
it.
got it. Just try to hunt him down while he's doing Friday.
I also have a card. In my picture. The guy that showed up here to show me. I'm sure he knows how to operate it. Any questions? So I can get you this number.
Okay. So we'll know by Monday, I'll either set up a special meeting
Right,
for us to do something to vote on, okay?
okay. And do we need more? What do you, good, just, what do you feel most comfortable about in terms of personnel? What I'm talking about. Not do that with yourself, no way, Jose, it's too much. Yes,
I can.
you ain't that rugged.
No, but I can get the trees down
I
and,
know. Look at this.
Look at the streets.
I can put the logs, in a pile and put all the brush where we can. Get it to. the-
You're saying it's more manageable the way I'm making it, I think is what you're saying. Yeah,
It's just a, steps to,
okay,
so, 2, 3 guys, 4
Okay.
guys would be
great.
girls.
Well, forget that idea.
No, I'm just saying,
Do you have anybody that you think you could tap into?
possibly come up with.
Okay, good. If we did this like a Saturday twice,
Yeah,
result.
with no kids around.
Yeah. because they sleep from 12 to 2:30. That takes care of us tomorrow and on that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way to change those.
All right, so you
Or
guys
we
will work
should-
that out at some point, I'm gonna contact Alta, and
Okay,
if you
you're gonna
can have
to
another
start-
week, I will contact us to have a pre-meeting,
Okay,
review that, and approve it,
sounds
okay?
good.
Anything else, Mark?
No, that's,
Anything else for us, what's your name, Bruce?
Oh, me,
Yeah.
I'm not next.
Anything else,
I'm not
Stan?
next,
On
next.
this before we move on to
Not on road stuff.
We got
the road
the,
supervisor, highway and grant report, salt sand shed projects. Stan sent us an email saying Rondell was redoing parts of the project criteria, putting the project out to bid discussion and on-site construction review. When was this, Stan, when we talked with Margot, and then, was that in December?
No, that was in late April, or
This
I wanna
was
say
April?
this past May. That's when we put it off for another year.
I was,
that's what we tabled.
it wasn't May, because that's when I had my surgery, so it had to be
Could have
way
been
before
May.
that.
Okay, it was before that, but it was this year.
Was it February?
We didn't give them any,
I don't think so, I want to say it was later than that,
Was it after
because
town
it was
meeting?
it was after March. So it must have been April,
Before town meeting,
after town, after town.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were talking about submitting the
Yes.
the RFP for the people that were gonna be on-site inspectors and testers, et cetera. And so we were working on that, but in the meantime, there was the need to send out an RFP for the project. And we had concerns about what was happening with the costs. And at the time, Wardsboro was considering doing theirs. And there were other places in the state that were in similar situations.
right,
And Mr. Hunt, for V-Trans, said, my feedback from the other areas in the state are that prices are high and it's making it difficult to approve the dollar amounts that people are saying. They're probably gonna end up spending more than what the estimates were for. And therefore, the amount of the match from the towns was increasing. And he suggested that we simply table the idea until later in the year with a
Yeah.
goal toward doing it next spring or fall. And at the time, I remember saying to them, it would have been nice if we were able to put out the RFP for the on-site inspection as well as the bid for the project itself, so we have an accurate number at one time of what the whole thing was gonna turn out to be, for cost to the town. And I even asked Wyndham Regional what their bill was, because they hadn't stated it. And the answer that I think you and I got that day was, well, we're gonna be renegotiating it in the summer, so we'll put it off. So they wouldn't give us a number. They didn't have a number to deal with.
Renegotiation of the costs and those.
why would we put that, why would we
So-
put that to bid now? Like just to hopefully get a number that we can see, that we would compare to for next year?
My philosophy on it, my interpretation of it, it is money. It's money coming in from the federal government, it's being channeled through the state in grants, and then you have intermediaries like Wyndham Regional, who are managing it and interfacing with the town, interfacing with the state, and they're making money off of this, as you know. So everything is toward having a flow of the money in to the state and a flow of the money out. Because they really shouldn't be applying pressure on us right now, in my personal opinion. We're gonna have this built, we're not gonna have it built this winter, we're gonna have it built in the 90 days it's gonna take to do it next year, when in warmer weather. Because cold weather inflates the cost. So it's, in one sense, I feel like it's inappropriate that they're asking us to do this now. However, it was clear to me based on their email that they want to proceed and get this thing going somehow, some way. Why they want us to do with prices or.
But they're charging us by doing that, correct? Am I wrong?
Well, Rondell's gonna have to redo some of the paperwork he did for the project. And he
They
hasn't
haven't
billed
given-
us for all that he's done thus far.
All right,
He hasn't billed the entire amount of money, and now they're going over it again. They're asking him to go through it and revise it again. And then, of course, when the regional's gonna have to go through it again. So there's gonna be another $700-800 bills just for Wyndham Regional to review what's being produced now. And there's more I wanna talk about if you're ready for this topic.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. You may recall that when we had that discussion in the spring this year, that the numbers that was produced for a summary of what this whole thing is gonna cost the town of Brookline came out to a number effective August 10th of 2021, last fall, of $372,372, which did not include the on-site inspection money and did not include a firm figure for Wyndham Regional's number. In the August of last year number, Wyndham Regional said they thought their cost was gonna be $33,852. That was for the municipal project management portion of it, by the time the whole thing is done. Okay, and then we got the $30,820,000 number from JP, what's the term, the last Turner, JP Turner out of South Burlington, to manage the on-site construction, and testing the materials, et cetera. So when you add $30,820 to the last August estimate of $372,372, we end up at a total of $403,172.
This is
And you figure we've gotta pay 20%.
Right.
So it means we have to have, and we're supposedly have collected this already by taxing our citizens, a total of $80,638.40.
Whoa.
And that's
And
without
we don't have
inflation.
that one.
What?
We don't, that was a 2021 number.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
We
this
have
is
not
worse.
been putting into a box, and we have not been saving the money.
All I know,
Now, that in the email that I received from Mr. Hunt from V-Trans, and I think it was also Chris Stampy, they said building material prices are declining.
yeah, I started to.
Well, I went on the internet and asked
Supposedly.
interesting question. Building material prices trends. And it turns out, you wanna lump all building costs to include services, materials, et cetera. There's year over year, building materials are up 19.2%
19,
from last year, 19.2% higher. And 35.6% since the beginning of the pandemic. And this site broke it down into residential construction in general as of April of this year. And all of the lines are continuing to go up and slightly heading
I
towards
see it.
maybe leveling off.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
only
Okay.
material which has decreased this year to some extent, but not this year over last year, is soft lumber. Soft lumber material
This
prices.
is so bright.
It's down from year end 8.9% over the first 4 months of this year. But compared to last September of 2021, it's 60.4% at this current time, higher than it was last September. And you go over steel products, increases 128% over 2021. Concrete, 8.9% year over year and 12.6% higher than January of 2021. Gypsum board, similar double figure inflation over last year. So I would like to take this general information and send an email to Wyndham Regional saying, this is what I find. You're asking us to recommit to something that we already felt was high last year. Or earlier this year, it certainly was in the fall of, or early fall of last year. Are you serious about having this redone now? And is it critical or essential for the timing of this to be done now? It seems to me that there is no win situation in this in terms of materials costs. Generally in the fall, building tapers off. If you believe in the capitalistic philosophy of less demand, lower prices, which is not happening with gasoline until Biden said you're ripping the public off. Who knows where we're gonna be from that? You know, for me, sitting here saying, volunteered to try to interface in the town's behalf, to try to make sense out of this and do what's right for the town of Brookline. And bring it to fruition if it's essential that we do that. The question really is, I'm not sure we're gonna get an accurate reflection of the building costs next year. By doing, or telling them to go ahead this fall.
Stan, when's our grant till?
The end of
2025?
2023, I believe. Could be
But they
middle
could extend.
24. I have reason to believe there are extensions in place. I believe there are already, yes, I have, but they are not committing definitely to that philosophy.
Okay.
So it's still up in the air, but supposedly done by the end of next summer, next fall.
First of all, I think they need to stop spending our money. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I'd like to know what we owe them so far. It's $20,000,
We already paid, we don't owe anything right now.
Okay.
We're caught up on our billing.
which is how much?
Only the
Like
periodic
20,000.
billing for Wyndham Beach.
Okay, the periodic.
And to that we're currently, but Ron Bell has done,
He
he
hasn't-
has not billed us for anything, and his bid was something like 17,000 or 15,000, and we haven't paid that yet.
So we,
Okay.
so we're still gonna be out some money in addition to, if we drop the project, we'll be
We
out.
have to pay that.
Right.
Okay, but we're still talking, asking the taxpayers to come up with a little over $80,000.
In theory, that should have been done along the way, but we have the ARPA money, which can be used as considered normal income for this one-time ARPA process. to hopefully we won't have again.
Yeah,
So that means if we take and withhold a little over $80,000 for the town garage, we're only gonna have $44,000 left of our ARPA money. After we've already taken 27 out for the incentive process for highway department. Take another 80 out, now you're up over 107, we had 152 to start with, so roughly 44, 45, 46,000 that we're gonna have available, which we haven't received yet for the second half. When we get it in August and September, it's coming, definitely coming, but in theory, on this building project, it's already spoken for. It's all for 40, except for 44,000, if you've been listening to what I'm saying, it should make complete sense to you. We had 152,
I got all the numbers.
okay, so what's there not to understand?
Well, what says not to understand is they just chunk of money out of ARPA money and throw it against a building that it's a useless building. We're just putting salt and sand in the damn thing. We could put up for $40,000, we could put up a tin can building and do the same job. This $400,000 is ridiculous. This project started off way lower.
it started 200,000.
Way
we went
lower.
over
And this started
40,000.
like $20,000 to $30,000 match. Now it's an $80,000 match, and now we're gonna rip off. Choose your words. We're gonna waste all that ARPA money on that building. I'll never vote for it. I can tell you that right now. Ain't happening. And if we brought it to the town, and if we brought it to the town, and one of the main reasons why I decided to go on this board, when you asked me to go on the board 8 years ago, because I always felt that I had a good sense of what the town wanted. They're gonna want to spend $80,000 out of that ARPA money for a building that's gonna sit there with salt and sand in it. Huh, I put some money on that bet, and I know which way we go. That's ridiculous.
Let's pick up here at this point, Stan, I think your idea,
We're working hard on
contact
Shannon.
Wyndham Regional and say, what are you really asking us about? What's going on? This is not an appropriate timing. That would probably, and then I can put it on the agenda to
One more
next
thing.
meeting to see if we're gonna.
One more thing, I think we're all kind of forgetting about, I have. Because ever since I saw that Vermont legislative report in March that I told you about, where the state got $2.2 billion in infrastructure money. I'm not getting any damn answers from anybody else. I finally give it up, I said, I know how to answer this. I'm gonna call one of my senators, I'm gonna call a representative, find out where this money is, where is it going, how's it earmarked? Because in that, what really annoys me is my own little pet project, which is $3 million out of $2.2 million. Was earmarked for helping municipalities and schools out with energy replacement, which is off a tangent a little bit. But what I'm getting at as we were given $2.2 billion, the
Billion
state, billion with a B, in infrastructure money. And I have, can anybody here say how it's being spent? I'd like to know how it's being spent. And, you know, maybe we're not understanding everything yet, and I'm sure we're not. But to ask the town to come up with $80,000 for, excuse my French, a useless $400,000 building just fries my butt big time.
Well, the
Especially-
thing that, I think it boils down to this, either we wish to proceed with the expense that's going to cost the town. In one sense, we're lucky that there was a one-time extension of funds because of the COVID scenario that could allow it to happen if the citizens of the board, as a representative of the citizens, want to do it. Question becomes our goals, what are our priorities? Do we want to get a vehicle that enables Mark to have the equipment to go out and do the road repair or the ditches, whatever?
Yeah.
Is that a goal? And that kind of fits it against the shed. The question becomes, are we gonna be on somebody's environmental nasty list if we don't deal with the salt and sand shed? If in fact, one of the reasons we got it was so that the seepage of any salt into the surrounding area does not pollute the brook and wetlands. So there are a number of things we need to look at, I think, before we pull a plug or look
Okay.
at things that.
But they're not giving us anything concrete, and that's where you're right there. They haven't told you anything. They're just skirting around the issue. I don't hear anything solid. I don't hear what the number is. I don't hear what they're charging for extra money. I don't hear what Ron Bell's additional charge is gonna be. I don't know.
We may not have any, I don't know,
Yes,
that's one
I
of the
know
questions we need to
I
ask.
know that, I know that. Now, as far as what you just said about leaking into the river or whatever, that didn't seem to be an issue before. It's just the building itself is broad, is the way I understand it.
Well, we're also
Market.
within 50 yards of the grass.
But that can be taken care of just by a concrete pad.
It could.
It could.
If that takes care of that
But the
problem,
investigative work to
$20,000.
determine what will prevent that leaching is maybe something that could be taken out of the existing documents to use that information, so we don't have to go through another series of.
well, I agree with that.
Environmental agree, well, for some, the environment people step in and say, we got to do this. If we can say, we've already done it, here's the plan that was done in, then we use that pad from that plan. We might save ourselves the time and money to hire another entity or pay for another entity to either
Without-
design or create, that's all I'm saying, is
Yeah.
looking at what we've got and combining those, if it comes to be that we need to can the idea.
We can look to the future and plan better the financial what we need in the money to do the project.
And this could be done for a lot less.
All right, I'll do it.
It affects you directly, how do you feel about it?
Good, good.
And I'm not asking you to
We're not
to
quoting
be
it.
the person that decides it all on the weight on your shoulders, but
Is
I
it
don't
big-
know how you feel about it. If you're working in an environment that you feel is not what you feel, it's not up to snuff for you and the town, then I would, you're a critical part of the information on this.
That, no.
Campaign, so.
I thought when we first started that it was a great opportunity to improve our salt, sand storage. And, again, slow up the saturation into the ground, which, we all want to comply with the state's regulations. But, yeah, it seems like it's gotten out of hand. It's something that we can't afford at this time.
How stable is the building years wise? I know it needs some monitoring and repairs.
Yeah, it needs repairs, but it will probably stand for another 10 years without any maintenance.
But the real issue is, I guess, what Stan's concerned about, is the leaching.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that?
Well, I guess, I think they have paved underneath the bay.
Really?
If you were to go there now and when they go in with bucket motor to scrape up at one time they put down asphalt.
So basically, we could rebuild the building or start from scratch or take down the existing structure other than the support. I haven't looked at it quite some time. It says, I don't know if it's on a knee wall, of like block or something like that.
Original, it was Hemlock Construction. Hemlock last year, over time, yes, there's rot and decay, and they had put pressure treated on each side of the post and bolted it to provide more time. I know for a fact years ago when they built these sawmills all over, that they would dig a hole and put 6x6 timber. They would put rock salt down and put the post in.
Rock salt.
Rock salt. And build their structure on top of that. And in some places, those pieces of hemlock are still in the ground.
Weird. Rock salt.
It preserves, it's like
Salt preserves.
pickles, you know, the bugs don't get into it and.
So is that the, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, excuse me.
So I feel like a lot of the structure is good. It's the transition between air and moisture. Anything under moisture is preserved. And above it is slowly to decay, but it's that level of moisture, the air that constantly dries and softens.
Are you saying it's on these timbers? Or is this on?
I'm just saying that that's how they used to build, and I tried to find out the age of this building, because it was built probably in the 60s, maybe. And it's had some repairs, but it's still, it's got potential. I think we could,
If the foundation's usable, that's 2/3 of the problem.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just try to be more efficient with the time.
Yeah, that's
Stan,
fine.
I get your idea of contacting Wyndham Regional and seeing what's what. I just added that we will put the salt sand check and conversation that you have with the Wyndham Regional Commission on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think Stan's proving points there with the cost of everything that was jumped, so it's kind of taken us out of the.
This-
Being able to afford. You know, if anything should change, yes, that would be great opportunity. But in the meantime, if we have to, I know that I could repair that and make it go.
And it could be a consideration again for town meeting article to discuss how to fund something in lieu of. We're gonna move on at this time.
I would think that's a wise thing to do, some of the things we talked about. I think in light of what we learned by going to a house for a complaint of spray from insecticides, I would probably want to ask Margot at Wyndham Regional and or Mr. Hunt if in the process of doing the paperwork for this, there was any investigation done to effect there being contamination. If there is no evidence of contamination, then I would feel, and I would almost assume the board would feel comfortable if that's a consideration to canning the idea, to know that there is no contamination and no one's gonna come out and say, we gotta fix something that's already damaged.
Okay, excellent,
Our
excellent.
only qualification for being able to get this grant was the fact we
Proximity.
were a certain distance, like 50 feet from the edge of the bank
Right.
to the shed.
You're right.
But they don't know if we
And-
tested for that.
You know, if it's a matter of the parking lot tilts
Yeah, that's-
toward the wetland, we build the parking lot up. Bring more toward the road, but filter down through the woodlands. You know, when it comes, we do have asphalt under there, so maybe that is unknown.
I don't think it was brought up at the select board meeting way back when
Oh.
the
Did you
original
know that?
authorized $8,000, yeah.
But it is a definite bonus to have a roof over yourself.
Oh, of course.
And maybe even a door.
But they make steel buildings in
Yeah,
$25,000-$40,000
Glass
Yeah.
door.
of that stuff. I looked it up, because Guy and I talked about it one day.
Yeah.
And I went home and looked at it, he told,
On the topic
So,
of salt
sorry about
residue and going into the ground, just think how much salt goes off the pavement and into the brook, all the way to Brook,
Exactly.
all the way to ground.
Exactly.
So are we going beyond our limits?
That's a
I
good
doubt it.
question, that's a good question.
I doubt
But if they expect too much, but I'll look into that, I'll
Okay.
answer the questions, and I'll
it.
see where
Again,
you go.
so, yeah, whoever that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on then to item C, town clerk. I have no report from the town clerk. Item D, town building commission.
This is what I found.
Well, New Hampshire.
She's listening to me, that Alexa girl.
Oh.
Town building commission report, Mr. Mello.
Okay, a little while, but I'll just take it.
Okay, speak up so they.
I talked to Tim Hart today, you already know that. And we'll coordinate where, he's giving me some additional information to call Green Mountain Power that I left in my email and never responded to it, that we might be, we might have an option of getting more money for the heat pump project. Don't know, I'm gonna email the guy, give me the contact, and do all that. I also had Andrew Cunningham from Southern Vermont Solar come over and take a look at the building, had a really great exchange. I gave you a bunch of information. I'm ready to probably make some suggestions on the 17th, of where I think we're going with that. I've got some questions dealing with related to financing and things of that nature that I haven't resolved. That's just not really something going through all of that. Other than that, that's all I have for now. I think.
All right.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
one more thing.
I knew it was too good to be true.
You're right about that. Emma Larson, I'm working on, he's gonna come back again, reanalyze the building, so we give a firm quote for the RFP, but he's also gonna fix that mess in the basement for that to relay the.
The pump for the.
But I think that's all right about.
Select board report, I could have written the health
Oh, one
department.
more thing,
Okay, Bruce.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
And it's really not related to this, but I wanna make a suggestion that we consider having a special ARPA meeting in the next month, so we can start figuring out what this money's all about, rather than just we spend 20 minutes.
I can't make out what you're saying.
I'm sorry, Peter. I'm suggesting that we have a special select board meeting with soon to talk about the ARPA money and how we're gonna spend it. Because we're spending 20 years, 30, I think we need to lock in direction.
Okay.
That's all.
All right,
Did you want the gentleman to express interest in serving as an ARPA advisor or community organizer to partake in that, or is it premature to have that happen at this time?
Well, I'll listen to anybody's opinion, but I basically think it's our call. I think we should have in mind what we all agree on. If, let's say I call him, you call him, he called him, well, he's gonna go, well, what do you think the select board wants to do about this?
I think it's premature until the
So I
three
guess
of us
we answer questions.
discuss it,
That's what Don
and
said.
then we can.
And then if you wanna go down, I'll listen to anybody's opinion, especially from people with experience.
Okay, health department concerns, rental home inspection requested for Friday, August 5th at 10:30. We're, Stan and I are going to do that. Stan, I meant to bring a deputy health inspector thing for you to sign tonight. I left it on my table now, I'm just thinking of it, but I'll get it to you. You've been approved, you're in the minutes, you just have to sign it and send it to the state, and they'll send you a certificate to hang on the refrigerator.
When I read the health officer criteria and how to be one, is it my understanding that the select board, as technically being the board of health, needs to sign that form? Or is it, I got the impression the select board signed the form. Is it not necessary the select board sign the form?
I don't think there's a sign the form, well, as a select board chair, I would sign.
I know we voted it one of the
Yeah,
last
we
meetings.
approved the appointment. And we just have to notify the state of the appointment and when it was made. And I'll have to look at the papers again. I usually put everything together, but
Yeah, no, I know you're very thorough. I was just reading it and I said, oh, I didn't realize that we as health people were actually a segment of the select board being the health office of the town,
exactly.
health department.
Yeah, if we had,
So
right, and
not understanding that, and then it said something about the health department approves the paper or the documents or whatever. Somehow there's the responsibility of the board to make sure that their wishes are known to the health department of the state of Vermont. And so I guess what I'm going to ask you, is it a process of the select board to sign something? Or is it the health officer as a designee of the health department?
there's
of
an
the Board
oath
of
that
Health
the town
to sign
clerk
as
is
well?
going to sign.
Okay,
See, the town clerk is supposed to handle the health department oath and paperwork, but they send it to the town clerk. And I don't know if David officially resigned as the health officer when he gave up the position as the selectman, or he is still on the 3-year, I think he's still part of the 3-year term, so he may
Okay.
not have officially resigned, so there may have been that gap.
should
We're
I
gonna
ask him
close
for a signature?
We'll get the paperwork all there and check with that, but
I noticed it did say when you resign,
you're supposed to
you
send
have
in
to
a
send a
letter,
letter.
yes, so I'll put that down. All right, so we'll follow up on that.
Sorry to be nitpicky.
No, that's, hey, listen.
I just wanna make sure it's done right.
This is the thing, it's lots of
And
things.
I know that with our heads together, we can do.
Yeah.
Saves problems down the road, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I have not yet responded to the letter regarding using the deer camp year-round on Grassy Brook Road, because the old health order has not been lifted. So that's something after our current rental property, I will probably dive into next. And that is getting the files out for, Rick.
Can or something.
Yeah, and the gentleman who,
Well, it sounds like there's an existing
I
state
have to review that.
that order, if it's in place and it has not been approved, it's
I
still
wanna
in
see it.
effect.
I wanna see it because we ended up stopping the investigation because the other man was arrested and went to jail on an unrelated thing that I reported that. So, I never, it was like, it's over, and now it's not.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Animal control, I had an injured fox, I told them to contact the game warden. There was a little doe killed on Grassy Brook Road, they moved it off, and I think somebody picked up the body. There was a loose horse reported on August 1st, we drove around, the owner found the horse.
That's
And
good.
it was returned, it was up on some, I think a couple of neighbors contacted me, there was a horse grazing on my front lawn, so. Anyway, so that was taken care of. Cemetery commission, there's a call from a woman who lives in Georgia, her name's Mrs. Moran. They own some plots, I have to deal with talking Howard, he's been busy hanging, but about some plots. I just also wanted to let you know that the Brookline Meeting House is having a fundraiser again at the Welcome Center on August 19th from 8 to 4. They had a meeting last night, I did not attend, but we'll have some more information about that in case anybody would like to volunteer for a couple of hours shift
So
into
you
that.
food?
It's the same thing we did before, we have food and snacks and sandwiches and beverages
And
and
it's,
donation.
And it's Barbara running again?
Barbara is gonna be away, she's not gonna be there, Leah, Barbara's working on it now, but she's not gonna be there for that day.
So I think my wife has expressed a desire to Leanne and whoever about participating.
So if you wanted to, mark your calendar, it is a Friday, it's August 19th, you can do all the help you can get. And we'll have more information for you. I did speak, Stephen John, I had communicated with him several times because he is the coordinator for DB fiber. Remember, we also said that one of the things that the ARPA money is good for is to do the connectivity projects for our community since it's underserved. And Brookline would be in phase 2. He would be willing to come in person or to Zoom with us to talk about this at some point. So maybe if we're having an ARPA meeting, a special meeting, ARPA that, I don't know, either before or after that, we would invite him and anybody else to it. As far as FEMA goes, just want to let you know, we have a new project administrator. Her name is Jessica Roderick. We've made phone calls and emails. I've sent her a summary of the road and culvert maintenance, the letters of which I think I CC'd you, but I have copies of them here if anybody wants to see them again tonight. I resent the paving estimates for the Putney Mountain Road as requested. Last night we met for 3 hours and reviewed information about material costs and estimates. We have 2 other things that I just need to, I talked with Mark before tonight's meeting, and I'll call up a representative and give her that detail so the money can be released. FEMA has offered to mitigate and help cover costs for inlets and outlets and using riprap on 2 culverts up on the other side of town. They're gonna be working on that, and just after that, we had the meeting last
So
night.
is this all related to the storm last year?
It's still all related to the storm last year. Remember, we had to stop doing them with the work because we were running out of money.
I know.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten anyone yet back, but they're trying to get the first round.
Because they were
recovered.
talking end of June,
Yeah.
here we are, end of
I
August.
think that,
Welcome to the federal government.
Yeah. Okay,
I had a representative, moved down and we got a new one.
Oh,
yeah, we have a new, one, but she seems very easy to talk to and responsive, and picks up the phone every time we call her,
I
so,
was looking over that.
yeah. Except for last night when we called her, but her phone was in charge. I'm finishing up my select board, chair, and then, are we going to consider purchasing a wheeled
Yes.
excavator? And if so, then I know that Stan had said that in October is a round for loan money.
Right.
And I would like to get on board with that. I can certainly sit down and work with, we can work with groups in 2s, we can't work in, you know what, I'm sorry.
You
Let-
can
let-
work
I
with-
can work in a group of 3, as long as we're not voting on stuff.
That's right.
We can't make decisions, but we
Yeah,
can
we
discuss
can
the
develop
information
develop an
and
So
agenda
if you
where
want-
that will be brought to the public.
So if you want to apply that to the ARPA meeting I'm talking about, I think it's really perfect. I mean, it's part of the ARPA meeting, actually. Because I'm in favor of it, you know, that man needs a piece of equipment permanently,
All right, so.
not just 6 weeks a year, so thank you. And the thing that you were not nodding with me earlier in the meeting was when he was talking about that ledge. Like
Right,
you said, Nelson probably couldn't deal with it years ago because
no,
he
couldn't do
couldn't
it.
have the equipment.
Right.
Didn't have the equipment. Well, let's change that.
Okay, so,
This, to me, this is what job is for. That's my.
all right, so that question is, we need to discuss about using that, and that certainly makes it part of the agenda for having an ARPA meeting. And then, and finally, any other reports from the select board? Stan wanted to touch base about Peter Meyer, I wanted to touch base about an email from Lee. And I also have some forms here from the listers, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna do the listers first.
Okay.
I mean, in the mailbox, it's form PVR 4261E. It's an errors and omissions certificate. It says the Board of Listers of the town of Brookline are hereby supplying the following changes to the 2022 grand list. Specifically, 3 parcels. Walter Ray, Howard Osgood, Philip Lee Hare, Howard, and Cynthia Now's properties. And it was signed off by the listers on 7/21/22. But they also asked for the selectmen or aldermen to also sign off on these changes. And I am aware that at least Howard never got a tax bill, probably because there was a partial sale of some of his land to Tanner Wynot. So, I'm guessing that's why he didn't get tax bill. I don't know if he's ever.
Didn't get tax bill at all.
No, he got a survey about this, so. So, okay, so I'm gonna let you take a look at this one, but here's their paperwork. And here is where the listers would like us to sign on the second page. So let's take a second to look at that.
That is a standard form. It's required by the, it says PVR on the, as a, and then a number. That's property valuation review. It's a state tax department, real estate division that requires this report to be completed when you've got the brand list already done. And then something comes along before the cutoff date, and a transfer or an error is discovered or whatever. Now, I suspect two of those are one process. Howard sold some land to a relative. And I noticed it's not necessarily in Mr. Wynot's name, it's in another name. The other name, Care or Harari, or it's a different Terry or something. That's who bought that 5 acres. So
Oh, it's his sister's land. He's been paying taxes, never was, it was never zoned out, and he's always paid taxes for it.
well, I understand that he had a verbal agreement with one of his relatives, that at some point in time, they were gonna transfer some acreage from Howard to someone. And I was in here one day, and Guy was looking for the deed sequence to Howard's property, so we could figure out where and who owned what. And I found the deed references for 2 of the original deeds that deeded the property ultimately to Howard. And from there, in the process of me saying, I've got this information for you, I found what you wanted me to help you with, it came out that Howard was going to transfer something to somebody else. And I had a feeling that it was based on I was told to me it was a verbal agreement between family members of Thanksgiving or something. And so now that deal has to happen, or it happened, but was never actually done on paper.
Yes.
So it now has happened, so I'm gonna guess, or yeah, looking at this, that one of these is the addition of acreage with a value. And then the other, one of these other transactions may be the taking away of that acreage from Howard. So his assessment's gonna change, there's gonna be an assessment for somebody new on the tax rolls, and then Mr. Ray, I don't know what that's about. That's my guess.
How much acreage is involved now? 5 acres?
Yeah, it's a lot of-
What's that?
You know, the third road that goes to sand pit,
Yes,
and then it goes up to a plateau.
yes, some of that is. Past,
So that's-
past the sand pit. What's happening?
Building a long pattern.
Good for, here in town, no kidding. Good for him. See, want any advice on how to do it?
This is
I'm good at that.
For that kid.
Good for him. Where do you get the 50, huh? No idea. Wow, right? So you give it to him? Can't say it online, okay, can't say it. It's on my speaker, so. That's great. So we just need to sign off on this stuff? Okay. Stan's glued to it, so he's okay with it, I am. That's the same.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. It looks like it's appropriate.
Okay.
The forms are not good forms, but apparently they fulfill the needs of legal.
Okay, you wanna sign it with the brief and then I'll sign it.
Town clerk signed it, signature, town clerk, signature of select board. Oh, okay, I'll sign this for the person.
You still have battery?
A little bit, yep.
went a lot smoother. What am I saying?
That page above me.
All right, thank you for signing this form. The second thing, Stan, you wanted to talk for a few minutes before we go into communications?
Yeah, I was disrespectful of Peter Meyer in that I mowed the lawn around the meeting house one Sunday after I noticed it had gone for several weeks without being mowed and it was looking kind of scruffy. So I went and mowed it. I neglected to call Peter and ask him if he was okay with it. Or express concern for his health and then there was some health issues involved or whatever. And so I just called him and I apologized to him, mowed the lawn. I explained I wasn't trying to take the job away from anybody. I thought I was being helpful, but on the other hand, I goofed in terms of not properly conversing with him first. And it's clear to me that he would like to continue mowing that lawn. And so the concept of the town taking over is not appropriate at this time, given his thoughts. And he understood. I told him it would never happen again. The only way it was, he wanted a break and he wanted some help, and I wouldn't, or if the machine broke and he wanted somebody to fill in, I'd be happy to help him in that regard, and everything's fine.
All right, perfect, thank you very much. Okay. All right, we can move down then to communications, and I will talk.
Wait, are we gonna talk about the rental agreement?
But yeah, because it was in the communication, I'm like, where should I put this, but yeah. So
Yes.
today from Leanne, saying that, that the, people who own the White Barn are concerned about a wedding that they have scheduled for their place on August 13th. Because if it's a bad weather day, their facility is not going to be very good. So they wanted to come and take a look at the Brookline Meeting House. Should you possibly consider that for renting that in case of rain? My initial response was, we're not ready to have a rental agreement to have without a certificate of occupancy, the insurance, the bathroom is ADA and all that, because we're just not ready. We did back in September 2017, come up with a draft, but we ended up tabling anything further until we got more work done on the building. However, I'm not opposed, because we've done this in the past, use the building for a small community event like 4-H or an open house or a tour or ringing of the bell or somebody getting married in there where the town clerk married people. But there was no reception and all of that. I am not sure in hindsight if the question is to rent the facility just for just for an hour, or to use the building, or use it for the whole, I don't know what it is, so it's sort of up in the air. What did you get out of the emails?
I thought, like, what I saw it was to resolve. They wanted to look at the building, they weren't sure what they were doing. So that's all.
I saw there's a need to be filled in a very temporary basis. I perceived it to be for the marriage ceremony only and nothing more.
Oh, good.
And back when we first put that building to use, I think you might have been on the board then, I'm not sure. We had the fire marshal over there.
Yes, so it was.
We had he had us bring in the extinguishers and went over the makeup of the building, the design, the structural stability of the floors and so forth. And his comment was, technically, the building is not ready for permanent long-term use in terms of the access and bathrooms. But he said, if you were to hold a service in here to marry someone, 15, 20 minutes and everybody's
An
gone.
hour.
Yeah.
So they're not here to use the bathroom, they're not here to use the kitchen. He said, I don't have a problem. So on that basis, we allowed Jordan Dana and her
Yeah, I
husband
don't know.
to be there, use it. I think they might have made a small donation to the community's infrastructure.
I was at that wedding.
Yeah, later there was a donation made. And so, you know, if that's all it is, and it seemed to be what it is, I think we did have them just exercise or make some kind of promise that they weren't gonna do this, that, the other thing. I mean, we may even use something like that.
I don't think we did though, I don't think we had a
I know
contract,
we got one
that's
from
why I got nervous
VLCT.
about like,
Okay,
That's quite a few
So-
years, that's about 4 years.
so it's a matter of.
6, Jordan got that, so it was 6 years ago?
2017, I'm sorry, that's when that.
So, you
It's
know,
in June, I
it's a
remember
way of marketing the building in a way. People are gonna say, oh yeah, we've been there, that little church down in Brookline, whatever. And who knows what may happen down the road as a result of that. It's a possible PR, it's a possible marketing tool.
Yeah, I had second thoughts after I sent that email saying, oh, no, whether we can, you know, I thought we were gonna vote, wanted us to vote to approve a rental agreement for that particular date.
We're just
It's
doing-
just too long. But to use the building, I have no. So.
Your concerns are very valid, I think, however, in light of the fact that I got the impression it's a very short term. It's like when I did the GP service, I went to the house, 10 minutes later, I was gone, you know?
Yeah,
So
okay.
it seemed like that's kind of where this is formulated.
Okay. Usually the events and the venues pretty fancy over there, so I'll let Leanne come back after she shows Mike the building. And what actually are we looking at? Are we looking at a whole day rental? Which I don't think we can, you know, but if we're just looking to use the building for a ceremony.
Ceremony's okay.
And if we're gonna have a special meeting, I'll throw it on the agenda. Any other things from select board that we'd like to talk about before we go into communications? All right, I'm gonna table this topic. I didn't put it on the agenda, probably because I was dry or something. But we did do a little research and took Peter Barris up on the contacting the IT person about the emails that we could use, and he suggested we follow up with finding out who does our domain service and so on and so forth. And I had emailed Guy Tanza to ask him who does our domain, and he didn't respond, and I resent the same email again tonight just to see, and just got lost in the mail. So it's something that's considered to changing, it doesn't seem like a big deal, and I certainly would go with that, but I don't think we need to discuss it right tonight.
I might be able to be able to add some.
Okay, go ahead.
Back when we were looking at the names for the town office, I had emailed 2 wired guys about doing it, and they were potentially willing to do it. And then a lady that lived in town who also did the same thing, Amy. Just saw her name, Amy Knight, who had a house on top of Harris Road. Just sold it, I think, to another couple, so she's no longer, so she might have put together the website for us to establish. It was like $10 or $12. Really cheap, I forget that, it's a year or $18 a year. They're very, very, so it's either two, I think it's either 2 white guys or maybe even call them 2 white guys. They might have taken over from them, because I remember seeing communication between Amy and 2 white guys. So they may be the source of that information. Right out.
But I figured I guess Guy first in house, yeah, because I just needed to step.
Actually.
Yeah. So that's something that we can continue with at a later meeting, but email and computer usage by the select board, there's lots of different ways to approach it, and I think it's something that we will continue to discuss to the best of our ability. The other thing was we got a letter from Sebets, they would like to come to a meeting, the woman that we talked to before, she'd like to show up at a meeting and talk about how Sebets has helped Brookline and why they would like $3 per person again.
Is this Tuesday?
So,
I think this is from next year.
next year.
so they're gonna update us when we've done this.
Yes, because now is the time people are starting to bring in their, so.
Okay.
And this is not what I thought it was, this is just a flyer, which I'll pass around. Like, it says, town program selected, so. Yes, sir.
One other thing, if I may, it's requires no decision, but just bring to everyone's attention that by the 30th of June, if we were gonna participate, I'm sorry, July, if we were gonna participate in the employee income survey by VLCT,
Come by.
but they won't allow us to send it in at this half a month later, or 10 days later.
I saw that email come across my desk just yesterday too.
I don't mind calling them and see if they take it, if she can produce it. She said it's just a matter of Nimrock, I mean, she can, well,
Melissa,
this matter, it's right on Nimrock and she can send it along.
that would be great because haven't done that in the past in our.
No, I think otherwise it's a cost for us like $150.
Right.
For it.
If you would mind following up on that, that would be great. Okay. So I talked to you about the IT person, said that Stephen John, Meeting House, Peter Myers, and Elizabeth. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to share on the communications? If not, we'll do payroll. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2306 in the amount of $1,749.78. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Noga. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2306 for $1,749.78, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. I didn't get the thing out of the drawer, but before we leave, we're gonna have to sign it.
Okay.
We'll sign this, we can sign this one,
All right,
and then,
why not?
okay, next, I'd like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2305 in the amount of $17,714.74. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Mello. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable 2305 for $17,714.74, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved unanimously. Setting the agenda for the regular meeting. Peter, did you get that? Setting the agenda for the regular.
I believe so.
meeting on
Yes.
August 17, 2021. The cell camera, salt sand shed, solar, ARPA, health department, town email, just to name a few. Anything else that comes about, we'll add to it.
The IRS.
Sure.
what's that doing? So, IRA stuff.
IRA, IRA, good, put that in there too. All right, is there anything else at this time? If not, I'm going to adjourn this evening's meeting. All those in favor of adjourning, George,
I second your motion.
Stan second, I made the motion, Stan seconded. All those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the meeting is adjourned at 8:58. Thank you very much.
Josh is relieved.
Josh is tired.
No, I feel sorry for you. You look tired all the time.
Let me get the
That's
actual.
what happens when you have two jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Recording stopped.